In this GYDA Talks, Robert talks to Patrick Gilbert of AdVenture Media Group. In his latest book, Join or Die, Patrick shares how he transformed AdVenture Media into a modern, automation-driven advertising powerhouse. From the failures and mistakes that nearly lost the agency multiple clients and millions in revenue, to the exaltation of its successful breakthroughs. Join or Die is brutally transparent, honest, and best of all, practical. Robert and Patrick discuss AI is here, again, Join or Die, why did you write it? Google want us to succeed, of course, plus much more.
Hello and welcome to the GYDA Grow Your Digital Agency Initiative Talks. And today I'm really excited to have with me Patrick Gilbert. Patrick Gilbert is just in the process of publishing a book called Join or Die, which I think is going to rattle a hell of a lot of cages in the digital agency industry. So, hello, Patrick.
Hey, Robert, how are you?
Absolutely fantastic. So let's just dive straight in, Patrick. So you've written this book, but before we get onto the book, you run an agency. So talk to us a little bit about the agency.
Sure. First thing, thank you for having me on. This is great. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. So our agency is AdVenture Media Group. We're based in New York. We've been around for 6 or 7 years now, and my unofficial title is the executive director. So I work with the CEO and essentially manage the actual day-to-day of the agency operations. We started out as a traditional PPC agency, doing a lot of Google ads, Facebook ads, and programmatic buying, anything that I think a lot of your audience would be familiar with. And over the years, we've grown. We've been very lucky. We've been very fortunate. But we've kind of been a part of this massive transformation that's taken place in the industry that I don't think there's any turning back at this point, where we're being thrust into this age of automation and machine learning. And for a long time, we pushed back on this technology, mostly because I think we were afraid of it and what it would do and what it would mean for our company. But over time, we kind of embraced it with open arms, and we've completely changed every aspect of our agency, and I think we're much better off for it. So that's kind of the premise of the book, and that's really the lifeblood of what we do on a day-to-day. So we're still a paid media, an advertising agency, a digital advertising agency. The work that we do has drastically changed over the years, and the way that we tackle advertising and consulting projects has changed over the years. But the blood that is running through here stems back to our attitude toward technology and way that automation has been changing this industry.
So what's the head count there?
I think we're 20 people in-house, and then we have a few contractors that work with us with certain projects.
Right. I mean, it's fascinating because you and I have all been at conferences run by Google and Facebook and Twitter and HubSpot, and they all stood up and they all said, this is the year of the mobile phone, and eventually, this is the year of video. So, I mean, 5-7 years of that one. This is the year of AI, and you're saying, and you're not alone, you're saying this is the year of AI in a way. And I think that's really interesting because what COVID's done is it's accelerated, I hate the phrase digital transformation, but it's actually accelerated digital transformation by 3-5 years. Stuff that agency folk have been dreaming about and wishing for, it's now here. So let's just get to the nub of it really. Join or Die. Why did you write it?
If I'm being completely honest, this entire book started as an email that I was writing to a client that I was pissed off at. So this is, if you actually set the clock back, and it's interesting that you just mentioned HubSpot conferences. This kind of goes back to the 2016 HubSpot inbound conference, which timing is kind of ironic here, was the night of the 2016 election. And terrible timing on HubSpot's part, having this event start on election night, because nobody seemed to pay attention to any of the content from that entire week. And it's clear because the key message, if you really read through the lines, was that AI and automation was going to completely change the marketing industry. And I don't know, maybe this just sounds nice to me, but I think that maybe the election distracted everyone from hearing that key message. Gary Vaynerchuk gave the keynote speech on that night, and one of the things that kind of stuck with me from that was that he said, if you're not trying to put yourself out of business, somebody else will. So we kind of described, Airbnb put out a lot of hotel chains, Uber put out a lot of taxi drivers, and the companies that really need to recognize that they need to reinvent themselves. And me in 2016, working for, at the time, the standard type of small business PPC agency, I didn't think, I thought we were the ones that would be doing the disrupting. I was like, yeah, all these guys got to look out for me. And then kind of as the week went on and I saw all this technology and all these things that I didn't really know the first thing about, was kind of an eye-opening experience for me to say, hey, actually, I don't know the first thing about AI. I don't know the first thing about automation. I need to really learn this stuff if I want to stay in business. And if I look back now, that job that I had in that moment does not exist anymore. The PPC account manager that I was working in 2016 no longer exists. It's been replaced. Thankfully, it's been replaced by me and my colleagues that have taken on different roles. So that's kind of the backstory on that. But I think we started this transformation, and at some point in 2017 or 2018, we were embracing automation more of as an agency. And there was one client in particular that kept pushing back and saying, we don't want you running smart campaigns because we don't like it. We just think that it's Google trying to spend more of our money. We don't trust it. Despite the fact that there was conclusive data in their account that proved that the smart campaigns were more profitable and had more scale. And it was so frustrating. And we knew that we were going to lose this account because of performance if we didn't do something drastic. So I sat down to write an email to their executive team. And it was just an absolutely furious. I was just very, very frustrated at this entire situation. And I realized I can't send this email. It's not going to get anywhere. If anything, they're just going to they're going to terminate the contract. They're going to be totally turned off by this. So I archived the email. About a week later, I dropped it into a Google Doc and I published it as a blog post, probably later that month, titled "Join or Die, It's Time to Embrace Automation," Google Automation. Folks at Google picked up on it. Somehow someone found it and it spread through Google internally. It sort of went viral on some internal systems and teams at Google. And somebody from their product team, their automation team, reached out to me and said, hey, look, I really like the way that you're talking about this. Let's chat. So that stemmed into a few different conversations that led to some speaking engagements, that led to further articles that I had written, and then eventually got to a point where this was last October. I gave a keynote speech at the Google Premier Partner Awards in Dublin. It was for the EMEA market, and it was on the topic of embracing automation. And it was great, and it was a wonderful experience, and I was really, really blessed and humbled to be a part of it. But I still felt that I was not moving the needle, or this industry was not moving the needle and taking this conversation to the next level. We were 2 years into this process of me shouting from the rooftops that we need to embrace this technology, and yet here I am still telling people, the top 5% of the EMEA market was there, and I'm still trying to get this message across. So I was like, okay, I need to do this the right way. And the only answer is a full-fledged book that describes this from start to finish about what it is, how to use it, and how it's going to change this industry. And a year and some odd months later, here we are.
And if there was a one-liner from the book, if we had to kind of 80-20 the book, and then 80-20 again, and 80-20 again, and we ended up with one golden sentence.
I would say that the key theme is that automation will certainly change your job, but it will not necessarily replace you. And in fact, the opportunity to provide value to your clients, and I'm speaking directly to marketing agencies, the opportunity to provide value to your clients is now greater than it has ever been, thanks to this technology.
So, slightly pregnant pause, because I'm just kind of in a way thinking through what that means, because as people who listen know, I'm on the board of several agencies, and some of them, say absolutely explicitly, you know, Google have come to us and told us to become a software company. Google have explicitly said, go write software, create software that can be lifted up and dropped down in different places, create scripts, create patterns, use the Google machine learning AI stuff to actually do that. Others have said, as you've alluded to, we've tried using the automation that Google's offered us, and it's made the agency look foolish because it's failed. But it's failed on several occasions. And as an agency, we're really nervous, and we feel as an agency that we're being fed, you must use this new ology like pâté de foie gras. And so the industry is kind of in this kind of state of confusion that, and it's a bit like, you know, I went to an Indian restaurant and I had a really bad tummy afterwards. Therefore, all Indian restaurants give me a bad tummy, you know, and maybe we haven't given enough chances to something quite. I mean, where do you stand on where do you stand on the agencies that are so they're almost like non-believers, and then you've got people on the other side who almost like have a religious zeal, which I guess is where you are.
I love the Indian food analogy. First of all, I'm definitely gonna borrow that. To your first point, I have also heard through the grapevine of people claiming that Google has said that they should create software, or that Google's prerogative is to get rid of agencies. I don't believe in that personally. I have a lot of colleagues that have a lot of clout in Google, and they have all said Google has no interest in getting rid of agencies. I think now part of it, they want to get rid of the bad agencies, or maybe not get rid of them, but they don't want to keep working with them because these bad agencies, or agencies that are against automation, are conflicting with Google's narrative. And I think if you look at that, Google has an incentive to earn more revenue and to increase their stock price. They have a responsibility to the shareholders. Now and this is kind of often a tangent, but I think this is an important point that a lot of people miss. Google wants their advertisers and the agencies that run the advertising to do well, because when you do well, you spend more money on Google. They created this wonderful ecosystem fueled by their own automated technology, and it's been around for years. And only a year and a half ago, we breached the 50% mark, where more than 50% of Google spend is run through a smart campaign. So they're like dragging people through this. Meanwhile, their growth, year-over-year growth in ad spend is decreasing, and they're losing it to Amazon, and they're losing it to Facebook. And it's not because those are better platforms necessarily. It's because a lot of agencies and a lot of advertisers have decided that Google doesn't work for them, or that Google is not scalable beyond bottom funnel search, or branded search, or basic remarketing. YouTube doesn't work for me. Display advertising on the Google Display Network doesn't work for me. So obviously Google is incentivized to say, hey, look, we're gonna stop wasting our time with these agencies that are just refusing outright to listen to us and understand this technology, because we're giving them all the tools to be successful, and they're literally saying, no, not for me. So fine, that's okay. So I think to an extent, Google's probably okay with some of these agencies going away, so to speak.